08. I'll take a motion to approve the minutes from July 17th.
I'll make a motion.
Ed, second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, so moved. Why don't we just rearrange the agenda a little bit quickly to approve the bills, and then we can just go into what these guys need to do. So there's two bills to be approved tonight. One is from the Boundary Survey team group that did the survey maps. It completed that work. It's invoice number 13570 for $11,166 to Boundaries LLC.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Kevin. Ed, second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Second is Silver Petrocelli bill for progress billing dated 8/1. It's invoice number 253564. And Irene, I'll leave you copies of these on your desk. I did print them. It is for $11,176.75. And it is all billed into phase 1 of the project for the DD, the design documents. So any discussion on that or motion to approve?
I'll make a motion
Kevin?
to approve.
Ed, any discussion? All those in favor? So moved. All right. So the purpose of tonight was really to start having a MEP discussion. And thank you, Ray and Brian, for joining tonight to give your input. Don's on the phone. Appreciate it. Irene, I know you're on vacation, so thank you for joining. Look, it's a good kickoff meeting for us here to really start to think about how the building is going to function and operate as we move forward, and make sure that we're designing to a standard that will work for us. Again, we're trying to build a building that we're going to be able to live with for 50 years and will support the town for 50 plus years. But also a building that is sustainable as much as we can, right? And is going to function in a way that, is not going to cost the town a ton of money to operate either. And ties back in, Newt has some thoughts on how the building ties back into the larger ecosystem of the town now that we're building out with the school and the town buildings and how we operate the BMS. So making sure all that comes together, and this will be a good start to that discussion for sure. So with that, Eric, I guess we'll kick it off to you.
All right, sounds good. Well, thank you guys for calling the meeting.
I'm sorry, Eric, before you get started,
No.
I just wanted to put in my 2 cents as well. It's one of the things that I think we need to think about is as we look at this building worth, 30 years, what this is going to mean to the town. We need to, both Ray and Brian are there to discuss the future of OSHA, what their requirements are, so clearly have that in our thoughts in our process as we go forward, that we make sure that this building will not be outdated as best as we can. I mean, we're never going to know the future, but we do know the general, scope of what OSHA is trying to do as far as keeping our firefighters safe, all of the, necessary equipment and all of the things that they're talking about lately. So I know Ray in particular, as well as Brian, both know of the future of what OSHA is requiring on fire departments, and we want to make sure that our firehouse is compliant.
Yeah, that's a great point, Irene. And Ray has already actually, about a month ago, Ray provided some high-level specs for some gear wash and some other stuff to help us drive the starting point of the conversation around that OSHA side. So great call out.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the comments. As Craig mentioned, we've kind of started to discuss some of those aspects a little bit by email. Sent over some of those data sheets, and I've had my engineers start to look into those things a little bit to start to plan for them in their designs. I just wanted to say thank you for calling the meeting to order to get this discussion underway a little bit. Today I'm joined by Bob Banning, principal and head engineer at the company, as well as Michael Chambers, who's going to be our electrical engineer on the job, who's with us remotely on Zoom, as well as Will Walter, who is our civil engineer. I really wanted to kind of start kicking off exactly where we're going to head in terms of MEP concepts today. It's crucial that we kind of put a pin in which way we want to go so that our engineers can just go full send on their designs and they would hopefully not need to change anything down the line. But I guess we'll see. So I've had them compile some information for us on some slides, just covering some of the more general topics, some options that we can kind of look towards and maybe head towards as we get further along in design development. Today in the discussion, it's going to kind of cover mechanical, electrical, plumbing, fire protection, as well as, I don't have it on here, discussion around utilities now that the A2 and T2 survey was completed. With that being said, I guess I'll.
Yeah,
Do you want to take the reins, Bob? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Look, I'll forewarn a little bit here. Having lived through this project, and Ed's going to stand behind me on that, right? And some of the MEP issues that we had here, we are going to be somewhat much deeper into this than we may have been in the past, right? From a review point of view, I'm not living what we did here again with some of the design that we missed, some of the generator stuff that got missed. And, it was shame on the committee in the diligence that we did in some points, but we also trusted Silver Petroselli to take what we wanted back. So please don't take it as hey, in the wrong way. It's just we have a responsibility to the town and we've lived it once and we're going to do our diligence probably a little deeper on this project than we have in the past.
Understood.
Yeah, and we certainly, we welcome any and all input. We're here to put options out there, our experience from prior buildings, things that we've seen that people have liked the way they work. But ultimately, this is your building, and to the extent code will allow us, we're gonna design it the way you want it. I wasn't sure. I know we have Will on, and are there specific things that Will needs to speak to? Because we could have him get first and cut him loose, or if we want him on there for all the discussions about, as we get into the plumbing piece of it, that I'm fine with it. I'm here for the long haul. So.
Yeah, I think, given that the way that the presentation is kind of structured, or I guess I should say the slides for discussion, it might be good if Will stays on for the bulk of the meeting, I would say, just because it's, I feel like a lot of the MEP discussion today is going to be touching the survey and the utilities throughout. So,
gotcha. Okay.
Has Will seen these drawings?
I believe, Will, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe I sent you the PDF and I sent you the CAD today. So you should have both, but I'm not sure how much time you've had to review exactly what's on the survey. Right, okay. Yeah, we'll definitely touch on a lot of those points for sure with regards to site utilities. Did you have anything that you wanted to bring up right away, or?
We're not, you and I are inverts penetration
Right. For sure, for sure.
Yeah, and we've got some.
Yeah, sure. I would say that's fine.
Yeah. I think just try and share, Will, and I think it may take over the screen here. I'm not 100% sure. We'll figure this out as we go. Which I can't do. It's not a yeah, I can't do that from this. Hold on. Screen share is on. Screen share is actually showing it's on.
Some smaller copies of the survey here for everyone too.
We have the site plan in front of us, Will, so
Yeah.
if you can't share, you can do your best to describe.
Desire to obviously maintain this written out. So we are looking to save that. Site for the fire department. That's the building issue. Next week. They are putting in kitchen. So part of their so kitchen.
I believe that was the
Yes.
plan initially,
Yes.
right? Yes, that is correct, Will. So I know with that means some type of grease interception that has to come into account with that septic system, I believe, right? Yeah,
Go ahead.
We're gonna have to try to figure out
So, I personally
And this is Kevin, just to add to that, right? I mean, we're also increasing the size of the building significantly too, which would probably warrant just starting from scratch, right?
We're adding like 4 bathrooms.
And plus the showers, plus everything
the
else.
showers, the bathroom,
Yeah,
plus the wash machine, the washers. So. Yep. So that's what
I agree.
to try so
I think we tried to pull, Will, when you were here, I think prior, we tried to pull details from the health department and the building department, and there was not a lot of detail on that. Yeah, so. Yeah. Yeah, there was no as-built drawings for it for sure. So it's probably going to force us that way anyway. And what? Sorry, how many people will be in when? 4 to 5. Correct. Could be meetings, it could be as much as 50 that come in. Plus with the meeting room, right, you'll have up to 50 people potentially in the meeting room there. It gets designed for 45 or something. So with the presenters and everybody else, you could be at a 50 mark. Now, again, short term, probably I would say once a week is a good anticipation for that.
For the 50. Yeah.
Yeah.
Couple hundred maybe. I mean, in and out staggered over a couple hours, but still. Probably 3 to 4 a year. It's a rough guess.
I think the other time you'll see a longer term stack up in the building, Will, is when we have a large scale event, right? We have a hurricane, a major snowstorm, any of that. The building will be scaled up. You could have 20, 25 people there for an extended period of time.
Like up to. That would be around.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Question. Can that same tank be used for the wash machine wastewater?
Contaminated.
Contaminated wastewater from the washing machine for gear cleaning, we can dump the same into that, right?
Clothes and SCBA washing as well.
Yeah. Yep.
I believe so. I believe that's how we said it.
But also from the washer.
Yeah, the washroom, your hose wash area, all of that.
Gear wash, from decon.
Yep. Yep.
For us,
We have the specs for it.
Yeah.
We could look. I don't
I'll
have
have to take a look.
Just out of curiosity, what's our tank now?
I would say 2 minimum, honestly.
I would decide.
Yeah.
Just sign on that too.
the vehicle washing that scares me. I mean, that'll add up quick.
Especially in the winter, where everything gets washed when it comes back in.
Over 5 days.
Over
5
5
days.
double days. Yeah, but I think we do have to make some decisions because some of those generators have some pretty long lead times. So as we start talking about the project coming to fruition, if we don't make some decisions soon, we probably have a potential, delay in the end. So
I believe that the slides that our engineers compiled for us kind of go into that.
We'll get into
Okay.
that. Yep.
perfect.
That it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Will.
Thanks,
We'll let
Will.
you know.
Right. All right. So I guess we'll start on the HVAC side of things. There's a bunch of slides in here with a number of options. It gets down to what we describe likely for individual spaces. But there are a couple of big picture questions that can guide the overall system decisions that I'd like to hit first. And hopefully this isn't ground you guys have covered in earlier meetings, but one of the big questions is whether you want to consider a radiant heated slab in the apparatus space. Okay, so if we're doing that, it basically says we're going to have a boiler and to distribute hot water. So that kind of guides that whole the idea of electrification of the building overall kind of goes out the window. Really can't do that.
Yeah.
But we could do an electric boiler, but I wouldn't recommend it.
Would you use would you use the oil boiler for the whole building? Or would you still look at heat pumps for specific areas, the locker rooms, beds, sleeping quarters?
We typically see the best efficiency overall of the building is to use that boiler to take care of the apparatus bays and some utility spaces, maybe some entrances, and then look at some kind of heat pump based solution for what we'll call the living side.
Yeah, all right, I'm aligned with that.
I think these splits include the AC, right, on the office space.
Yeah.
So that kind of, well, it doesn't take a bunch of slides out of here, but we can go through a bunch of these early slides very quickly. Relative to the radiant slab, although it is different, but it is related, are we going to want to do snow melting of aprons or sidewalks anywhere?
We talked about the front apron potentially as being a snow melt area because it does have that small little down, hill down to it, onto the road.
This tight, so. What's the normal apron? Is it 6-8 foot out?
8 to 10 usually.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, that's another kind of one of those big picture questions. And
What's that?
Can that go on the back entrances of the door of the drive-throughs, not just on the front? Reason being is because when they plow, it leaves.
I would do a much shorter. I'd do 2 feet maybe or 3 feet on the backside from just from an energy use point of view. But yes, good point when they pull around with plows.
Especially this drive-through, honestly.
as well as the at least the 8 to 10 feet out for walkways would be.
so, yeah, and obviously we don't have a true site plan set up. We're going to, as the areas of sidewalk develop, you guys can look at it and say, absolutely those sidewalks or absolutely every sidewalk. We can talk about it. As you said, they are an energy hungry piece of equipment. They're also not the greatest piece of equipment from a problem standpoint.
Longevity.
Right? The longevity. Thank you. Yeah, it's whether it's electric or whether it's hydronic, and we could look at both. They're in a tough environment, right? They're outside in a sidewalk that has a fair amount of movement to it. You know, in the case of the aprons, they're being driven over by heavy apparatus. I'm not saying that it's only going to last 3 years, and then you're going to say, "Why do we waste our money on that?" But you know, we're talking about a 50-year life of the building. I wouldn't be surprised if before the 50-year life of the building that you have sections of it that aren't working. But that said, when they are working, they do a great job. They take a bunch of liability and maintenance concern, off. Your crews are here getting ready for events or emergencies, and they're not having to go out and push the snow off the sidewalk in the front aprons every hour. It's a big deal.
And look, I think it's one of those things we leave on a VE list, right? And it may get shrunk in the front from 10 feet to 3 feet too, if depending on what we have for a budget and where we land.
I think it also depends on the overhang of the building too.
That's true.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So those were a couple of the big picture questions. So the slide up here now kind of lists a few of these big options, and really, one of the big things that comes out of this is we've really never fully heated apparatus base without some kind of fuel. It's a difficult lift to do it with electric unit heaters or infrared, but you're talking about radiant slab. We would typically still put unit heaters in there. They'll be downsized compared to what they would be to fully heat the space. But the radiant slab is great, and it maintains its heat even when the apparatus bays are open. But that volume of air, those cold vehicles when you back them in, we find having unit heaters in there to help pull a little, take a little of the peak demand off the radiant slab works. We talked about the kind of the living side, and buildings like fire stations work very well with a heat pump based, what we call a VRF type system, because you can have a little individual either ceiling or wall mounted cassette in that space that can both heat and cool. It can do it efficiently, and it can do it individually for that space. You guys are going to see a lot of variation in the use of these rooms, and it's not going to be predictable where a BMS can easily get a space cranked up and ready. Your schedule is obviously very different from a typical office building. So we find the VRF systems, and we can specify them as what they call a hyperheat. So they are capable of heating down to very low temperatures. As we get deeper into it, we can give you some more details on that. And if you're still concerned from a heating standpoint, we can look at having a little bit of electric backup for it. But our experience has been those systems, and designed for down below 0 degrees, still can function quite well.
Occupancy sensors.
Sure. Yep.
Again, because it's one of those things where guys could be working in an office, they crank the heat up to 70, they end up on a call, they don't come back to that office ever again. If we don't drive it ourselves, it's one of those things we'll just be throwing energy out the window.
Same with meeting rooms or conferences.
Yeah.
In that space too,
Yeah.
with kitchen and everything. So.
Yep. Yeah. No, we can certainly work. Basically using an occupancy control to go into a setback mode like you would for a normal unoccupied period. I'm jumping around a little bit here, but I think I heard you, Craig, mention a townwide building management system.
Yeah. So, New, you want to talk about that a little? So do you know what the head end is you're looking at? Where they?
I can.
Okay.
I can.
Yep. Nope.
Okay, that's great direction to have right from day one. It makes a lot of, questions about how we're gonna control the spaces kind of go away. We know we're gonna have a network in here, so the BMS will be able to tie into that and get out to the overall system. So, and yeah, certainly our mechanical crew is familiar with the Niagara-based systems. Will be a piece of cake to write the spec around that. Yeah, I mean, typically for a building like this, we would put thermostats, for lack of a better term, in each space. Programming can control whether you set a
Two up,
band.
two down, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep. And then everything, the biggest thing is Niagara base is great, but it has to be able to function standalone also, right?
Oh, sure. Yeah. If should it lose its tether to the outside world, it would have its own processor in here. You wouldn't be able to view it from the central
Correct.
system, but manipulate it. But yes, it would continue to operate.
But if you had to, you could take the computer there, plug it into the node, and do what you need to do during a major outage or long-term outage.
Hit the next slide, if you would. So when we talk about the apparatus phase, we already kind of hit that big question of radiant slab and providing some unit heaters to cut the edge off. So that kind of hits the heating piece of this. When we talk about ventilation, do you guys have tailpipe exhaust now, and or do we want it in? Okay. Are you a plume event group? Does it not matter?
If we have Plime Event, but I was looking at it and it has pneumatic or magnetic.
Right.
Ours are spring.
Okay.
Sorry,
Oh,
Magnavent.
Magnavent, not Plime Event. Okay. So we have Magnavent.
Magnavent, that's the manufacturer. Okay. It's Magnavent, but they're not magnetic. The attack.
Hey,
But they have that option.
It's a cool name.
Would you want to go magnetic, or you want to stick with what you have so it's consistent?
You have to change everything at company one.
Yeah, that's what right? Because then you wouldn't be able to move big trucks between the.
yeah.
You'd probably just stick with what we have.
No,
No.
they're spring.
Friction health, I think, is probably the term.
We can get the specs for the bid documents for it.
Now, we would typically provide additional ventilation in the apparatus space, and we usually do that in a twofold manner. We would put in a small exhaust fan that provides just the minimal ventilation that's required by code for any normally occupied space. So just moving a little bit of air in and out of that space based on the square footage and an anticipated number of occupants. We would then also typically, even though you have the tailpipe exhaust, we typically provide a larger exhaust fan that would be controlled by CO and NO2 sensors. Should you have a failure in the tailpipe, somebody who pulls the tailpipe off or forgets to connect it, you have that there. With the tailpipe exhaust system, 99% of the time, that thing should never have to run. It's not a terribly expensive, bit of backup and
No, it's definitely warranty, especially with mutual aid coming in and parking their trucks in there.
it's a good point. Yep.
Would that also serve as a BMS exhaust fan for just pulling air out during warm times of the year? Would you
It
use
could, it
right?
certainly could.
Dual,
Yeah,
dual
you-
use.
You could have a sensor in there, because we wouldn't typically air condition apparatus bays.
Right.
But, yeah, I mean, we find that most stations would just open the front and back doors and let natural ventilation run its course, but you certainly could have either a high temperature sensor that makes that work, or just manual control if you wanted.
I'm just thinking if all the heat's gonna be up high, get it out of the,
You'd have to have air makeup somewhere. You have to have the ability.
if the doors are open or.
Yeah, I mean, we would
You
build
don't-
a
we could build it,
louver into the system, so
Yeah.
that you've got an intake and a. The other thing we do maybe 50% of the time in apparatus bays is put some kind of fans, destratification fans, paddle fans, big ass fans. We do those, especially if we're in an application where we just don't have a, say, 16-foot, 18-foot flat ceiling. If we've got a big pitched ceiling, like I think we're proposing here, that it does help, and you've got the space for it. With the shorter flat ceilings, you run out of ceiling space in a hurry with heat and fans and overhead door rails and plume vent, but we could certainly provide a handful of fans. Again, it helps.
Smooth air.
Yeah. It adds a little bit to occupant comfort just because of getting that air movement, and it does, as you say, take that big mass of hot air in the cold weather and help push it down. Now, with the radiant slab, you have the advantage that your heat is starting low to start with, so occupant comfort is good.
But it should help with moisture too, right?
It does. Yep.
Just on
Yep.
low, even on low with the ceiling fan, so.
Having managed a building with the heat and the floor, very little temperature difference between the floor and the ceiling. It's absolutely amazing how it balanced itself without fans up above.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Through natural convection. Newt, you're
Yeah,
talking.
I mean, I don't see a reason why that clear story that we have up there couldn't have some type of operability to it. I think we just have to work out the.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could definitely look into that.
Some kind of an operable louver.
Yeah.
Okay.
Up here,
Okay.
and then it's just natural flow for the heat to leave the bays in the summertime. Yeah, we can definitely look into that if you want.
All right. Let's see. So the next couple pages, I'll hit on a few points as we go. It kind of runs through all the spaces, and I don't know whether Addie even had the full all the space names pinned down when this went together. But the day room we view as kind of one of those living space areas. We would provide code-pended ventilation. We often will do ventilation in these spaces with a dedicated outdoor air system. So you have that heat pump based system that does your heating and cooling, but you still need to get fresh air into each space. Because we're not heating or cooling with air, we can drastically reduce the amount of air that we're bringing in. And we still temper and dehumidify that air before we drop it into the space. But it's smaller ductwork, and it's part of that overall efficiency of the space, because you're not heating or cooling a significant volume of air. So we see that as a good solution for many of the living quarter spaces. So we talked a little bit about the kitchen. If we're talking commercial kitchen, we're going to have to be talking about a full-blown grease hood with extinguishing, and that comes with makeup. So we have to, you know, in the kitchen area, we have to condition the makeup air that's coming back into the space. And how big a hood are we likely talking about? Are we talking just over one big commercial range?
1.60 inch, give or take. Is that a normal?
Yeah,
60, 72, something like that.
probably 65 feet.
I think I'm showing a 60 right now in the drawings that we do have. And the nice thing is that I've located it on the outside wall. So it's easy access.
Easy for the exhaust.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you know, the grease exhaust fans require some maintenance. They're not the most beautiful things in the world. You know, yours isn't going to be like a you know, Chinese food restaurant where there's grease pouring through it all the time, and you worry about, you know, a lot of drippage, but it's there for a reason. You know, again, training room, bunk rooms, offices, we see all those as good fits for the VRF system and the DOAS for ventilation. One question we often get hit with is whether we definitely want each bedroom to have its own control. You know, often the answer is yes, both because the occupants have different preferences, or because maybe you're not using all of them and you can keep the ones that aren't occupied dialed down.
Yep. Yeah, I would think we'd want to individually control. Yeah.
Good question. That can we can look at both. I mean, we're looking at having propane in here for the boilers, maybe for the generator. We'll get to that later. Potentially and preferably for the cooking equipment. So propane is there. Yeah, I think both of those are options, and I can probably get you some more refined pros and cons to those options, unless you guys have strong feelings one way or the other.
No, it would be good to see the operating costs of each, right, and what the anticipated differences are based on the design. Yeah, I mean, we are bringing propane in already, so going from a 500 gallon to a 1,000 gallon tank isn't going to make a huge difference probably in the cost. But
sometimes those decisions get steered a little because of physical restraints. You know, we don't have a big flat roof to put a DOAS unit on, so I would imagine we're going to be in an attic space and ducted out. So we'll have, you know, that would mean a piece of fuel burning equipment in the attic space, which isn't a problem, but it's you know, it is an implication. On the flip side, we don't have the world's largest site here, and we're going to have to locate a number of outdoor, you know, heat pumps for doing our other systems. Having one for the DOAS system is one more we'll have to locate. So,
what does DOAS stand for?
Dedicated Outdoor Air System. One of those rare acronyms that actually stands for exactly what it is. Yeah, so we can start to refine that choice on the DOAS. There are a number of spaces, and as we hit locker rooms and bathrooms here, you know, those are the first that we'll talk about that you know, we would keep under negative pressure. We try to keep our general living quarters under positive pressure because that helps prevent infiltration of air leakage in. But locker rooms and bathrooms certainly, and then as we get into the decon space, gear lockers, all those are part of those NFPA requirements that we get into, where those spaces are mandated to stay under negative pressure and not share any kind of air circulation with other living spaces. We don't have, you know, the corridors in these kind of spaces. Typically, we would just dump some air from the DOAS system in there, so we're getting, you know, dehumidified fresh air in there. You know, they don't typically have much load because they're interior. So,
and we did a really good job of shrinking down our corridors, right, in the space. Yeah. So there's very limited amount of that circulation space in here, and space that's not being used as square footage.
I think we only have one vestibule, so,
Yeah.
you know, that vestibule may be a good fit for a little convector or something like that. But yeah, we don't have a lot.
I think if anything, the lobby facing west in the afternoon sun in the summer is probably gonna be the highest.
Yeah.
Heated, honestly, so. Especially with glass across the front.
We can tint that shaded too to help it do something to help.
Put a tint on the glazing too, that will
Yep.
reduce absorption.
Now, so the next one on the list here, if we're on that's the right page, yeah. So the gear locker space. I know right now, or at least the plan I'm looking at, still has that gear locker space open to the apparatus bays. I don't know of any prohibition to that. You know, obviously going back just a few years, the gears lockers were just lining the sides of every apparatus bay you ever went into. But we do see more often, but not always, an enclosed space because it helps us, you know, control the ventilation in there. But I don't know
Yeah.
that it has to be.
I don't think it does. I know that Addie had expressed some concern to me about it being open because it makes her job a little bit more difficult to achieve what's necessary. But you'll find that in the slide deck that I provided for you guys, I provided a layout of what it could be if it was to be its own individual room, which given that we, I believe last time, we met, Dave was here, it was agreed upon to go to 18-foot wide apparatus bays. We gained a lot of square footage back from that, so that has made it so that
You could enclose it and recapture the space.
and there's more than enough room to make it so it's comfortable.
I think just thinking ahead for the use of the building, right?
Yep.
I mean, right now they're saying you don't have to enclose it.
They
I
might.
think 10 years from now, I'm having a feeling they will. So
Yeah,
my gut is to go with it and close to start, just to be uber safe, and then the building will last longer without changes.
Yeah, to Irene's point earlier about staying current, designing for the future, I think that's a wise decision.
Yep.
Now, one question with the gear room, does that have to have cooling then too?
That is a good question.
Let's see. Right now, we're not indicating it as such. It is, you know, the gear room, the decon, some of those mechanical spaces kind of create that separation between the cooled part of the building and the apparatus bays. That doesn't mean that any one of those spaces can't be cooled, and certainly the gear room could be.
And right now it's not, so.
I don't think we've cooled them in the past,
Yeah.
but we do, because we're giving them ventilation from the DOAS system, it is getting 70-degree air dumped in it.
Right.
You know?
It has to be,
Seems like it's possible.
Okay, so it has to be climate controlled.
Okay.
And I could toss.
Okay.
So we'll add that
Because
to the.
manufacturer says you're supposed to store cool, dark place.
Okay.
Mm.
All right.
Just like,
What's the
whatever, even,
what's the temperature range? Because the outdoor air system will keep it at 70. Right, that's what you're going to be pushing in that treated air. Really, is right about 70 degrees steady.
Yeah, I'm not sure that the overall space temperature would stay at 70 all the time, but
65 to
it's gonna-
72.
even if we enclose it, it's going to have
Yeah.
a wall that's common with whatever the temperature of the apparatus base is.
yeah.
It's not going from 40 to 80 or 90.
Doesn't have a big
Yeah.
glass wall to the outside. Doesn't have a big glass wall. does it?
And through the DOAS, that's also dehumidified air.
Yeah.
That would be sufficient, I think.
Have we ever, this just popped in my mind as we were talking about the possibility of keeping it open. Do you know if we've ever looked at lockers that were directly vented? You know, basically it had an exhaust connection to them and constantly drew the air from the lockers out
To the lockers themselves.
Yeah.
in the room.
Yeah.
So, if I may, one of the problems that you're gonna run into that is it's I have not seen in any firehouse, big enough lockers that would have ventilation. You know, I understand what you're talking about. School gym locker rooms have them. Our gear, when we store it, it is supposed to be hung on a hanger. And the bunkers are supposed to be stood up. So you're talking 2.5 foot across, you know, and 2 foot deep. That would kind of take up a lot of space.
A lot of air.
Versus the open lockers like we have in Company One now.
Yeah.
So-
Okay. Yeah, and again, I
Probably
hadn't
easier
seen
anyway.
that before, it just popped into my head, so.
Good thought.
You know, so the decon room, I mean, there are a few things we can talk about relative to the decon room, and I don't know, Eric, if you've already gone through like what we're looking at in there plumbing fixture wise. The plumbing section's coming up, so we can
Yeah,
probably hit that more there.
I haven't touched on it too much yet, so we can kind of dive into it a little bit.
But maybe we'll hit it when we get to the plumbing section.
Yeah, but did you have anything relating to the mechanical side of things?
I don't think so. I mean, it's an interior space that's going to be treated with the DOAS system, so we typically wouldn't give it, you know, individual cooling. Obviously, it'll be heated. All right. So gear wash, we have a dedicated room for gear wash, right? Yep. Is that one washer, one dryer? Okay. We do have to make up the air that's pulled out by the dryer, so that we're not dragging it off the out of the apparatus bays, and you know, typically heat that space. But as long as we're properly exhausting, we don't typically need to cool that space. The SCBA room, and this gets into one piece of equipment question. I saw Eric shared the cut of the SCBA washer, which is a piece we haven't seen in many other stations before. And one thing our plumbing engineer brought up was, you know, the SCBA room is on the opposite side of the apparatus bays, and at the moment there's no space over there that needs sanitary drainage. The SCBA washer would, and I wanted to have the conversation about whether the SCBA washer is best located in the SCBA room or whether it could be located in the gear washer room. Just picturing, you know, I don't know how wet the packs come out of that thing, whether you end up having to hang them to dry for a while anyway before you reload bottles on them. And I don't need that answer today, but there would be a plumbing efficiency if we didn't locate that thing over there.
Yeah.
But hey, it's a brand new building. We're not busting up slab to do it. So if we have to do it, we'll do it. I just wanted your thoughts on that.
Because it's a good point.
What are your thoughts on that, guys?
Store it here and it's just if you have to
Store it and wash it?
So I think washing and drying can be done
In the gear.
in the gear room. SCBA delivery, I don't necessarily think we need, like, looking at it, an outside door.
Oh, okay.
Because I would like to see a air compressor go in there,
Oh yeah.
filling SCBA
Yes.
bottles.
For sure.
Yep, that's the intent.
That's
Yeah.
the intent,
Okay.
for sure.
Because the outside door is literally just to
Deliveries.
for somebody to deliver filled bottles.
Okay.
two bottles.
We don't need that.
Okay. No problem.
We do it all in-house.
Gotcha. We've seen it before where that was requested.
Yeah,
So-
no.
I think we were thinking O2 bottle deliveries or anything like that from a service provider.
Big answer.
Do you guys have any apparatus, aerial or whatever, with large tanks on them that you need to fill via a hose off of this thing? Okay, so you're all strictly
carry what you need.
Yeah, that's one we run into occasionally where they need to be able to pull a hose from the SCBA compressor out to the apparatus. Yeah, and sometimes the door comes in more often with oxygen delivery. I don't know whether that's still a problem, but
Do you wanna have it? I don't think it hurts, honestly.
Somebody's out there.
Yeah, it keeps them out of the firehouse, right? It secures off the
As
space.
long as the door to the bays is.
Because-
It's locked, we can lock that and
The, just wondering if it'd be just as easy to swap the two, EMS and SCBA.
do you not have any travel distance issues in the front here? There's enough, everything's okay from a travel distance without a door, an exit door out of the front?
Yeah, I believe it would be. We have that door that's at the back on that
Yeah,
side.
I see that, yeah.
I don't anticipate there being any travel distance issues. It definitely helps to have the door in front there. I mean, any base possible.
Everything, just leave it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, because, I mean, ultimately, you can actually even have your oxygen delivered into the SCBA room and then moved
Yeah.
to EMS storage.
Put a rack in there.
whatever.
6 o'clock.
Reached our limit.
And now we're down. Okay.
So the door.
We do have a hard stop in about 40 minutes, so
Okay.
45 minutes. They have
Understood.
another meeting in this room, so.
Yeah, I would leave it just the way it is.
Yeah.
Everything's fine.
Understood. Perfect.
The workroom on the end of the apparatus bays, kind of any of those rooms on the end of the apparatus bays, often we see those as mostly unoccupied. Certainly they'd all be heated, they'd all have some level of ventilation, but typically we wouldn't cool any of those spaces. Yeah, and that kind of
Worst case, put a ceiling fan or something in there that somebody's working.
All right, the next page is controls, and we really already covered that.
Yep.
So that runs us into some plumbing stuff. So we know a bunch of the answers plumbing wise here. We know we don't have domestic water. We know we don't have domestic gas. We know we don't have domestic sewer.
Check.
Will is taking care of all of those things for us on the site. We will have a room, dedicated to water. We'll have, we kind of started to talk through Will about the leach fields and all of that. So, that's really his space to go through. We covered the trench drain discussion about the holding tank, so we're all good there. Right now, yeah, please.
True. It's probably more of a reason, honestly, to go with propane and have a dual run system, and stay away from the oil or the, electric and diesel.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, most equipment, it only requires maybe a replacement of a nozzle or something, but it's usually pretty minor for both generators and fuel burning equipment. But I'll make sure Eddie keeps that in the back of her mind.
We can also consider that too for the cooktop in the kitchen too. Because that should be.
Yeah, all of it. Yeah. Any.
And the dryer.
Yeah, I think it's a good driver towards propane, honestly, and staying away from electric.
All of that being said, is there a place on the site to put above ground tanks?
You guys are proposing two 1,000 underground tanks, right,
Yeah.
for propane?
At the moment, we're showing all of our tanks underground. If there's a preference one way or the other, we can definitely explore that. I know that given the current layout that we have, probably I would say our biggest challenge is going to be locating all site utilities and everything. you heard it from Bob with some of the mechanical equipment, heat pumps and everything. Those are going to have some type of ground level location outside. And right now we're looking at we may have to relocate some of the parking spaces to accommodate some of those things. So with that being said, we could definitely explore it, having above ground tanks if it's preferred. Underground, I think, would make it a little bit
The other
easier.
thing you get from underground is your setbacks decrease, right? So above ground, you're 25-foot setback. I think underground, you're 10
That is
with a
correct.
1,000-gallon propane tank. So it gives you a little more leeway.
Underground, you have to buy the tank and maintain the tank. Above ground, the gas company provides it.
Yeah. I think if you put it underground, though, typically they're going to last forever.
Do you need 2,000 for the heat, or is that for more?
There was just an initial placeholder.
Yeah.
That very well could end up as one tank. We just wanted to get something in there that we felt was kind of worst case.
Okay.
Especially if that's running the generator too, because that's gonna, it's talking around 50,000.
Yeah, which I personally don't think we need. We need to talk about that.
But that's gonna
That's a
be,
big ass generator for this building.
We start big and then we decrease. It's always easier to go to downsize than it is to upsize. So yeah, we can definitely talk about that more.
One of the things we talk about briefly with gas, and it usually would only apply to the kitchen, is whether you guys want any kind of an emergency shut off, just a mushroom switch that would kill the gas, kill the power to the cooking equipment.
Doesn't that come with the fire protection end of it?
Well, yes, if the Ansel system, if the extinguishing system went off, that would kill it. This is more we're in the middle of cooking something and we gotta go, yeah, the guy thought he turned the knobs, but we went ahead and hit the mushroom
it's
switch.
cheaper than trying to explain to the public. why
We burnt the firehouse.
I'm just saying.
That's never happened before.
Put it in.
We can always have when the tone goes off, the button activates.
That would be lovely.
You guys, you don't have any kind of a station alerting Zetron type
We
system?
don't, but we want to look at. Yeah.
Yeah, we have something very primitive in both firehouses where it's just we got speakers hooked up, but I want audio and visual alert system.
Okay.
With speakers in every room.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Literally.
Literally every room. Yeah, volume controls too, within the room.
And sleep.
That is one thing.
Yeah, so one thing we do think about when we talk about the ability to be set up for a station alerting system has to do with lighting control. Lighting control, like centralized lighting control, used to be an ultra high-end thing. Now you're basically buying the same controls and just running some Cat6 wire in between them. If we give you a little bit of a brain to be the head end of the lighting controls, you'd still have individual controls in every space, but they'd have that connection back to a central brain that could be connected to a station alerting system, and it could be programmed so that this comes in, bunk room lights come on, apparatus bay lights come
Yeah,
on.
that's great.
Okay.
And I look at it two ways, right? It's turning them on, but also through the occupancy sensors, turning them off on the flip side.
I know at our new building, every zone you walk into, even within the same room,
Oh yeah, the lights
activates the
flip
light
on over
within
there.
10 feet.
Well, and again, when you start looking at LEED, platinum, there's requirements around all of that. So depending on what we want to do with any kind of LEED certification here,
We can definitely explore that.
some of it's going to be driven. And we do have a sustainability committee in town now. So I think and maybe it's not platinum, maybe it's silver, maybe it's something, but we should look at where we can gather LEED points here and what level we can get it to. And if there is anything we can do to bump it up, if it's a point or two we need to get to the 80 to hit platinum, great, let's look at what it is.
Is it do you recommend that we should loop in the sustainability committee?
I think at some point, once we see how we're designing it. I don't think it hurts, and it's just an informed, we're not looking for input necessarily, but an informed that, hey, we are building to a sustainable.
Yeah, sure thing,
Right, also CCTV, do we consider lock controls, access ways?
Yeah, so we have
I know
a
that's like
budget
way
number
out
that
there,
we're
but
carrying way out, for all the door hardware, access control, monitors, 911 alerting,
Yeah.
active 911, all that.
Alright, cool.
We'll have to determine locations and stuff as we start to do
I know it's
construction
way down the road.
documents, yep.
There's no dispatch function here, but will you have a small base station? of
Yes.
some kind?
Yeah.
All right, a few plumbing detail items. So hose bibs around the outside of the building, scattered around just for general
Couple.
purpose?
Yep.
Okay. Inside the building, I mean, there's a few places that are no-brainers, in terms of apparatus space, some of the maintenance spaces, gear wash, there's a few spaces that we would typically have them.
I would say hose and water and air at every door for every truck.
So let's see.
But are you gonna look to do a power
That's where
washer,
I
right?
just
So you're
said.
gonna put a power washer in a bay specifically, or in an area, so
Like we have,
Versus just a
something
manual
like what
wash.
Craig. Say that again?
Would you still do manual washes and then the power wash separate?
No, I would almost do 2 power washers and
Yeah.
the entire
Cover
bay
the whole
floor, yep.
and then limit your number of hose bibs, so it's just one less bang, got
Right.
knocked off the wall,
Right.
damaged, leaked.
I would do 2.
Yeah,
So
one
200 feet
I would actually do here.
and then opposite, right?
And, yeah.
Stagger it. Yep. That's what I would do.
So long enough real so you can get
two
the
hose
days.
reels
Yeah.
and 2 power washers.
Yeah, it'll be.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Craig, what was that, the Hassies? Is that what what was the brand?
That one is, yes,
Yeah.
and you can
That's
go
for the hose
a
pumps.
higher power,
Yeah,
lesser
that's
power.
what
and
we're
we'll
talking about.
That's great. No,
Those
it's
hose
awesome.
reels where you just
So-
grab them and
grab it and pull it right off.
We put 100 feet on that. We added on to that. That's great.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Awesome.
Pressure washer hose on there, not just one. You can literally hit
Yeah.
any.
That'll cover the whole
Any
thing.
of the-
Oh, God, yeah. Just clean the trucks, like, it's just.
So if we've got those 2
My son-
pressure washer locations, then maybe we do a couple of just regular hose reels on the ends for.
Right on the wall, so they hook in, boom.
can you do hot and cold water too? Versus just
You
cold?
can do hot and cold water. I don't know if you necessarily want it or need it with the heated floors and everything else. I think it's,
I'm just saying, because I have put it in my house, you come back from driving in the snow,
Yeah,
ice,
we're blowing
you
off.
throw some hot on, not hot enough to crack the windshield or anything, but it
Right.
does get rid of the ice and stuff a
Okay,
lot
yeah.
easier with hot water, so.
Good point.
it does.
If we could do hot, that'd be great.
Yeah, it's just typically you don't run hot water into the pressure washer, right? It doesn't like that.
Yeah.
You shouldn't anyway.
Right.
You get a pressure washer that heats the water and spits it out.
Right.
That's
So then you're jacking up your power, right? You need 240 there versus 120, some things like that. But it's clearly something that is not overly expensive to do by any means, if we design it correctly in the beginning.
Just protecting our investments.
Yeah.
So,
And looking forward.
right, correct.
In addition to the SCBA compressor, we would usually have a shop air compressor.
Yes.
And do you guys need compressed air to the air brakes, to the trucks, or do you no longer need that?
So DOT is in the process of re-looking at some of the requirements along with NFPA to move it toward repiping supplemental air to all the trucks rather than having jockey pumps, because finding the electrical is just burning up jockey pumps, which in turn burns up a truck.
Oh, you don't just mean that the jockey pump fails, you mean it actually burns up.
Oh, yeah.
All right, well, that's
You wouldn't think that would happen, but it does.
Okay.
I would plummet in the ceiling with 2 drops or a drop at each side
Center bag, kind of.
of
Near the driver's door.
Maybe stagger them where we got the pressure washers, put them right next to that one.
Well,
So
you're gonna literally plummet
Okay.
straight
Drop
across.
down, yeah, across.
Just
I got you.
pre-plumbed so that all we would have to do is pull out a plug.
Yeah.
And put our hose in.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Times 2 rows because you have the trucks in the back.
Yes.
It's one, yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying, it's,
Two shots of copper across or.
yeah,
I mean, it's not gonna change what we're doing for the compressor. We're gonna have the compressor anyway. It's a little
Yeah.
extra pipe.
Just to make sure we don't
Yeah.
forget it.
and probably one going over to the decon and gear room, one like smack in the middle, drop, but piped.
For like an air reel. Yeah, we would usually give you some air in the workbench
So-
area.
Yeah.
Oh, the one you got, that's nice. Where'd you get that?
Don, you're not on mute.
Sorry,
It's okay.
I'm gonna take off at 6:30, sorry.
So just to call out, if there are, we do have 25 minutes,
Yep.
let's call it, or maybe 30, we could go to 10 out. But if there are things specific that will help you guys continue to build out the plans now that you want to jump to, we should do that. And we can come back to certain other things later. For sure.
Just ask one question because I'm not seeing it on here. You read to tank fill and top off. What is that? Before we lose it.
So yeah, that was one I wanted to hit before we left here. So some stations, particularly ones that are on regular domestic water supply, ask us to give them a 1-inch hose line or something above the trucks for topping off.
I'd like it depending on the well capacity.
Right.
And if you have a like makeup tank, like a 500 gallon makeup tank reserve, that could be applied from.
And good point, because one of the things we've talked about in the past is putting a cistern somewhere, but I don't see that in here either. So having a cistern of 5,000 gallons somewhere on the property, either to pull a draft out of, so we at least have a water supply to refill trucks for mass incidents, or
you will
putting a
have
pump to fill the trucks from that.
Yeah, you will. Well, so we're proposing right now a 30,000 gallon water tank underground for the sprinkler system.
Correct. I don't think
Right.
we were allowed to touch that.
I don't
to
think
fill
you
the
are.
trucks.
Yeah.
Right. That's why I didn't want. That's why I'm bringing it up separately. I didn't
Ultimately,
see the other.
it would be great if we were able to put a tank here for drafting so that we could train at the building. Right. Or if it's a, 25,000 gallon tank, which I know is ridiculous, something we could potentially draft from to supply
That was
for a short duration.
And that was the original intent when I raised it, Ray, is if you have a tanker shuttle in the center of town, you have a water supply at our company too.
That
Quickly
that is
established.
maintained.
Yes, and filled by us.
Yeah.
And that was, so maybe it's 10 or 20,000, I don't know what we could consider, but something where we could fill tankers while things are still being established.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. All right. Look,
And if
I
we
am,
could use that to fill the trucks and hook it into this, then even better, so.
I am all for we go into this with the wants that we want, right? And these are all things that as we see a price tag come in, that get value
no.
engineered out.
Understood, but, if you could, like you said, use that tank.
Yep.
For your tank fill and top off.
Yep.
Little 100 gallon a minute pump in there.
And we did something like that in East Hartford where it actually got filled by rainwater. My understanding is a couple of years later that was not a
Yeah.
popular choice because it fouled the tank.
It's constant. I have the same thing in a building I manage in Boston, and toilets are, because we use it for toilet, constantly clogged. the filters have to be cleaned, you know,
Killing gaskets and,
it's always.
Hey, great, Kate. Just a quick question. I think I'm grasping at straws here, but that current well we put in, it has a good yield. Is there any way to use that for like the off stuff for this building? Filling the trucks or doing the washing? Is there any possible way? Because you said it's gonna be abandoned, but,
where does it sit?
and then have another well for the drinking?
I think it sits right where the training room is.
20 gallons.
Oh, okay. So that's a no.
I think, if I remember correctly, that had to be abandoned because that was under the office
Yeah, it's under the
space.
training room.
Yep, that's fine.
I mean, unless you can,
We'll put a little hand pump right in the training room.
I
Yeah, that's your drafting site right there.
I got one of them in my house, okay? Easy, guys, easy.
I think in the interest of time, we can
Yeah.
come back to questions about wall mounted versus floor mounted toilets and.
Yeah. Look, I think this is where, these are the kinds of things we rely on you guys to come back to us with a design.
Mhm.
Okay.
And let us look at it. You know what works better in most cases and will function better.
We can put in what we recommend
Yep.
and then we'll adjust from there.
I do floor drains in the restroom, no brainer, right, for cleaning and stuff.
Yeah.
Those types of things we need to
Has it.
look at.
Yes, yep. Yeah, as a matter of fact, we've got a plumbing plan started that does start to locate some of those things. So these are plans that we can start to get into you guys' hands to comment on.
Yeah, and I gave those out, so,
Oh, great, okay.
should we just jump to electrical?
Yeah, I think so. But one quick thing on fire protection,
Yeah.
right now we're basing it around an electric fire pump. You know, we're gonna have a generator anyway. There's a little bit of implication in terms of a separate water service, separate electrical service connection to it as well, but yeah, it's opposed to a diesel fired fire pump.
Yeah.
That would, so.
Yep. And we really think we need 30 gallons for that building, 30,000 gallons.
That was an initial stab based on a 60-minute flow on what he thought maybe was the highest area. Again, same category of let's start high, and if we can shrink it later, great.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember what size is it, check out. Newt,
Yes, sorry.
what size tanks are at Chestel?
For the fire pumps,
210s? I think it's 210s.
20,000 in total for that building.
Really?
How big is that?
It's a 2-story lap building that's convalescent.
It's much bigger than this firehouse is going to be.
Yeah.
We can look into that.
I mean, quite honestly, your calculation, because he's the fire marshal, he's gonna say, that's fine.
Yeah. Well, again, this, I'm sure he didn't work out the exact largest fire area within the building, and
That's a him problem.
I think we based it off of the previous project.
might have been.
Love it.
All right, so electric. Right now we're talking about an 800 amp service. My guess is we'll end up getting by with a 600, but I doubt we'd be able to get down to a 400 amp service. We'll want 3-phase power. Some of your equipment's gonna dictate it. Which, anything over 400 amps means we need to find a home for a pad mounted transformer on the site. Typically that would be fairly close to the generator and somewhere fairly close to the electrical room, so we keep that secondary service short. We'll probably have sub panels in a couple of locations in the main electrical room, maybe one down in that far end of the apparatus bay in one of those utility spaces, so that we don't have to drag a bunch of little branch circuits across the apparatus bays. Yep. That 150 kW generator size was probably based off of the 800 amp service. Again, if we end up dropping down to 6, that'll go down. I doubt you'll see it go below 100. And I think I heard us.
Do you really think for the size of that building, just going back, we need 4 sub panels?
you'd be shocked how many branch circuits fire stations eat up. Lots and lots of things come and say, we need a dedicated circuit for this.
Yeah, and I don't want to be maxed out at the end either, right? And I want a good
correct,
20+% in each panel
Sure.
for, expansion later on. Just trying to, anywhere we can kind of cut or not, be conservative.
We're not going to give you 4 sub panels just because this list says 4 sub panels. We're going to start filling panels, and at the end of the day, if we only need 3, we'll only have 3.
Okay.
As far as the generator goes, I think I was hearing everybody talk lean toward propane.
I think so, based on Newt's point, yeah.
And so propane covers you under a couple of things. If you do end up somehow with natural gas here, it's fairly easy to switch over. It takes away any concerns from a code standpoint about it being a reliable on-site storage of fuel, which sometimes, especially for the fire pump, can be a tripping point with natural gas. And at this size, you're really not paying a premium for it. Diesel versus natural versus propane are pretty similar in cost in this size. We'll give you a nice sound attenuated outdoor enclosure, so we're not aggravating anybody. I understand, I think there was talk of the building being set up for PV.
Yep.
That would probably be provided by a third party.
Correct. The town's in contractor, we're working with third-party vendors now that we've looked to.
We do a lot of PV design ourselves in-house, so knowing what the switchgear needs to be set up for and stuff is it's a piece of cake. We can get into lighting in detail later. I mean, for the most part, a lot of these spaces are just going to be simple, efficient LED lights. We go to a wet location, not necessarily a spray down rated fixture, but a fixture that can handle splashing from water in the apparatus bays and in some of those utility spaces. It's called a vapor tight fixture, we would typically call them. Exterior lights, I guess, is one. There's really 2 schools of thought there. Some people like a handful of lights that look nice and draw attention to them. A lot of people say, I just want my exterior lights to disappear into the building. Whether you have any thoughts along those lines.
I mean, they need to serve the purpose, right? We need to light the building from an egress, ingress, all times of day. The parking lot has to be lit, so you're really looking at both pole lights and building out lights. I do think, look, it's a nice looking building across the front, so to have some kind of, I'll call it quote unquote decorative lighting across the front makes sense, I would think, from a design point of view. It functions and lights the apron up.
If it does both, then great.
Yeah.
So,
do you guys envision needing to have front, back, or both of the apparatus bays lit up significantly for either maintenance or drill purposes? Yeah, so, and that often means, we're going to have fixtures either above each door or flanking the doors that'll give you good light right in front, but typically if you're going to be doing true activities there, we'll end up flanking the area with a couple of poles.
We really have to think about that exterior around the building needs to be functional 24 hours a day, right? You come back from a call, you got to be able to do a truck, not have to put it in a bay where everybody's on top of each other to restock a truck or do whatever, clean it, whatever.
And is that more, and this may come further when we get the site plan further developed, but whether that would be most likely behind the building or whether it might be both behind and in front?
both. Just easier to plan that way.
Right. Yeah. Again, looking forward, planning for the worst.
Hey, Craig, I'm gonna take off.
Yeah, thanks, Newt.
Yep, see you guys. Have a good night.
You too.
talked a little bit about lighting controls already. Building will have a full fire alarm system, addressable. Do you guys have a vendor that you work with a lot or that you want to avoid, name Simplex?
Yeah, avoid, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Firelight, Notifier, something generic, probably, I would say Firelight.
I would just want it to the schools.
Yeah, I mean, there'll be a few code-driven things because of the bunk rooms in terms of smokes and CO back there. We got to be a little careful about where we put things, just because of vehicle exhaust or whatever. But that'll be easy enough to get through. Probably, well, certainly, we're going to have at least a whole separate dedicated meeting on the technology side of things. I guess the one general question I wanted to throw out there is whether there are pieces of the technology side that you have standing vendors in town. Okay,
Absolutely.
so it'll go through the project, but go to that vendor. It'll be funded through the project, but through those vendors. And we'll be able to work with those vendors through the design process. So that'd be for security, network, Wi-Fi, radio, all of that stuff. Okay.
One thing I would add, the training room, it's more than a local sound system, right? This should be a complete audio visual MTR Zoom room capable, not just a sound system.
Okay.
Cameras interior and exterior.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, and we'll get into sometimes the interior locations are a little bit particular.
And I actually have I have a vendor that can help us, that will donate his time to write the security specs for us.
Okay.
So that's what he does for a living.
Cameras everywhere.
What else we got to cover here, Eric?
I just included, I wasn't sure if we were gonna talk about the utilities at the front and back end of this, so I just included our previous site plan from before, that's been slightly upgraded.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to run, we got about 10, 15 minutes, so we can run through floor plans and.
Yeah, just
Site
some
plans for-
small changes that have been made. So, as we had discussed, over here, so given the location of some of our utility spaces, mechanical room and electrical room being over here, fire pump and well kind of situated right over here. We're gonna need to be in discussion with Civil to relocate a couple of these parking spaces over here to other areas, either here or here, just to give us some space to put some ground mounted equipment. Based on our current layouts, that's kind of how things are shaking out at the moment.
And I think we originally thought that, right? And then
Yeah.
Because we originally said maybe we do underground, we can always put a patio there for like a picnic table or something.
Yeah.
If stuff was underground, so.
So relocating those, can you put those to the apron, front apron?
Over here,
Yeah.
like somewhere along here. I mean, we could definitely look into it. We have to talk to Will. And see
Just
what
simply because, that's one way we can get into the firehouse.
Yeah, for sure. We can.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
And right, we also said, in the back of the bays, straight out, we were gonna put something where we could park along the grass. So it's not gonna be straight grass, it's gonna be a parking area back there too, so.
And
Maybe
then you
we'll
have
just
two doors
slide
in
them
the
out.
back of the bays from either
Yeah.
side. You
on
can get
either
in.
side. Yep. Yeah, we could
It'd be
definitely.
nice if we could get a door right here.
We could definitely look into that a little bit. As whatever is preferred.
You know what I'm saying?
Being said, so I mean, we've talked about site utilities a pretty good amount. Just diving into just some minor plan changes that I wanted to highlight. Given the decreased size of the width of the bays ever so slightly, since they were kind of oversized before, was able to gain some space back and condense the watch room a little bit to reduce square footage. That reduced our square footage by about 300 square feet, give or take. So we gained some real estate back, and if needed, if we needed to extend the building out in one direction to get a little bit more room, whether that be for mechanical utility purposes or just for aesthetic or design functionality.
Can we have get rid of this exterior door into the washroom and have the door come in here?
Yeah, we just have to look at
Yeah,
ADA
Craig's
clearance.
team.
Oh, yeah, you see that.
Or even add another door there.
Just
Yeah,
right here.
A door right
this is gonna kill this room for usability.
Yeah.
Right, you lose this whole area to be able to do anything with it, and I don't think we necessarily need the door into it from the outside.
We can ditch that door and kind of shift all of this desk space over here.
Yeah.
We'd have to look at clearances to potentially have a door over here. This wall may need to
Shift
over
it in a
a-
foot or something.
Yeah, we should probably shift it in one course of masonry, so another 8 inches. That might give us the space. The other option is to also have a door in the washroom right over here on the front too, if that's desirable. But I know just talking about functionality in the space.
Functionality going through a room to get to the bay floor is horrible.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because both of our firehouses now are that way,
Okay.
and I hate it.
Yeah.
Well, you're just gonna
Hate
bring, you're gonna bring mud, you're gonna bring everything else.
It's all going through that.
Salt, everything.
Oh,
you're
yeah.
gonna store.
And it's the last thing you want if you're in there on the radios or whatever,
People-
right?
somebody
People
coming-
ripping
yeah,
through
you're
behind
absolutely
you.
And can I,
There'll be a taser involved.
Yeah.
just one question, I think with the washroom, we originally had that bumped out 2 foot as
A
well.
little bit. We had it. It was bumped out like almost entirely. Its depth. We can. I was just thinking about that as I got here after I laid out the plans. That it'd probably be good to have a little bit of a bump out to actually visibly see the doors.
And that's, I think originally I remember that because that is actually very beneficial to see down.
Yeah.
To see
Yes.
what's actually leaving versus
So we will-
inside, so.
I'll put that back in.
And should somebody be out there too,
Yeah.
especially with security.
Which is
these
why we
days.
talked about it
Yes.
during a major incident, right? Somebody walks up to the firehouse to the
You can
front,
see
you
them.
could see them.
So
So even like 4 foot, just something to have a
Yeah.
window,
Yeah.
line
Four-
of sight from a desk.
I think 4 feet would probably be sufficient in getting us that amount of space, and that'll actually make it so we can give a little bit more room back to the fire pump and well areas to, in case those pumps are gigantic. So I'm not entirely sure how much space is needed.
It's a big
Past
pump, a
what we
big
have.
controller,
Yeah.
Eversource is a pain in the ass in terms of metering, it's shocker.
But the thing that I do have highlighted on this plan was around the gear lockers, and as I had mentioned before, I have provided this is what we're showing currently. I have provided an alternate layout for an actual sealed off room, so it still maintains a door to the exterior. New door placed by these double doors over here going into the room, and then a door that is able to swing full 180 out and open onto the apparatus space.
That's where people should be coming in because their gear will be in there anyway. So
It's
coming
as
through
good
the
as-
front, through the whole building to go back to get their gear anyways doesn't
Do we,
make sense.
would you rather, again, take that door out off of the hallway and have more gear space, right?
Forces them to go through
Force
the bay.
Coming in the
I
bay.
like that.
I agree because the gear should not be in
Yeah.
Eliminate
the side
that.
building, honestly.
So
It
it-
should be stopped right there. That stays in the bays. Gear room to the left, nothing goes into
So
the
so
living quarters.
so sorry. Which door? are you
Eliminate
talking-
the door off the hallway, the corridor, that door,
This one,
yeah.
this door right here. Okay,
Yep.
and then just extend that all the way.
Extend
to
the locker bank down.
Yeah, you get another 3-4 lockers
Yeah.
on that wall.
At
You
least.
could probably put a couple in the corner.
Yeah.
We could also fit if there's a desire to have like a bench or there's something in there too.
They put it right down the middle for changing. or
That's where
something
we're gonna
if
be
you need.
storing our
Okay.
surplus gear as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
Okay, so we'll axe that door and just extend the lockers back.
There's a quarter mile.
Thank you, Bob. I appreciate that. Looking at the more residential side of things, hasn't really changed too much.
That's reusable gear.
Water fountain over here by the bathrooms because it's the best location for it, with the chase being located where it is. Everything is pretty generally the same. It was requested by our electrical engineer to put the electrical room on the outside. That's easier for access to service and everything, and then we can just put the door on the outside as well. kitchen layout. As I mentioned before, since it's a commercial kitchen, we need things like a 3-pot sink, a hand washing station, and what was the last one? I think the last one is a pot filling sink. And so we've kind of dispersed that throughout with putting the range directly on the exterior wall. That will be easy for ventilation purposes. This will be, of course, serving both the day room and the training room. And I'm glad that we're going commercial kitchen because we've had this discussion with other municipalities in the past, and trying to get around the health department regulations, which I've already kicked off that correspondence. We're already in contact with them, so I can get plan reviews with them rolling at any time.
Eric, what are the 2 sinks in the laundry room?
In the laundry room?
Yeah.
Let's see. One I think is just a hand sink, and the other one is just like a mop sink.
Oh, mop sink. Okay.
Yeah. Which whatever is preferred, we can.
Yeah, because we said that would be the janitorial type closet also.
Yeah. I mean, we have one down here too.
Yeah.
So just kind of covering both sides of the building.
And it's across from the restrooms. It's a perfect spot.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. Yeah. So, go into the
Obviously,
elevations.
floor cleans and all those janitorial rooms with the
Yes.
bathrooms.
100%. Yeah, for sure.
Especially with the data room right next door.
Go into the elevations. They haven't really changed too much. As you mentioned earlier, we'll look into seeing what we can do in terms of operability on the clear story to maybe get some natural ventilation out for the apparatus bays. Materials are still the same. Brick on the bunk room side with some vertical metal panels up on top, and then metal paneling going across the entirety of the apparatus base. We can look into some costs variations as we get towards the value engineering scheduled moments, whether stick with metal panels or maybe fiber cement is cheaper to some extent. Of course, there's considerations with both. And I think that's it. That's all we have in terms of the slides. But if there's any follow-up questions, I know we're kind of tight on time, so
Yeah, we got 5 minutes or so.
yeah, we can.
No, Jim?
Like an exercise space.
In Colchester. Yeah, we did not build in, right? The square footage just did not support it. The police are pushing for one here too, if something gets built jointly at some point. So,
I
get it.
It wasn't the original
Because-
list.
We did talk about it, right?
No, I'm sure it was, because I had sat down with Kevin and said, these are the things that OSHA is going to be looking at, and apparently now that's got put on hold.
Yeah.
For now.
Well, if it is something that you'd like us to consider, we can definitely.
Hey, John,
explore
you
it.
can come in.
Goes right here.
Yeah, I mean, with the way the bunk rooms are arranged, it might be something that can.
Full house.
What's going on, John?
How are you guys? Chief.
One question I thought of as you were going through. Do you have a house siren?
What was that? I'm sorry.
Do you have a house siren?
No.
Do we want one?
Unfortunately.
Yes.
Yes.
Do the neighbors want one? No.
I don't care.
Is there
No,
one that's just unplugged?
If you only do it between 6 a.m. and 8 p.m. I think is the
If we
town.
wanted to look, we could turn the nuke sirens back to using. I have control over them.
I think you should.
It's awesome.
I like it personally.
I like that idea.
The Yankees been gone a long time. The sirens
They
are
turned
still
them
up.
over to the town to maintain. So I maintain them under an emergency management budget.
Yes. Can we do that, Craig?
It would take some work, right? It would take some programming and work from Scranton side to do it. We'd have to look at the cost. So,
There isn't one of those on the site.
no. Up on the pole. It's on the pole, yeah, but it's not on the building or anything.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much it in terms of the team. We're underway. Civil, as Bill mentioned, they're going to get started very shortly now that they have the CAD the survey in hand. Our structural engineer is a little bit backed up, but informed me that he'll be able to get somebody moving on structure end of August, beginning of September. So we might be a little bit light on that front in terms of design development, but once they are underway, we can schedule a meeting with you to kind of go through with, what the visual design of that may look like in terms of the apparatus base, since, it's all exposed up
We
above.
say end of August, we're already at August 14th, it's not far away here.
Yeah.
So, so what do you think about regrouping? Are we looking for second week of September?
We can do, how do you feel about 2 weeks?
First week of September, basically, right
Yeah.
after Labor Day.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
First week of September sounds good for
Okay.
follow-up.
Okay, let me look at some dates and I'll get back to you.
Sure thing. Yeah, you got it. Any other questions or anything before we?
No, appreciate you guys coming out.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, this was a great start for us, guys. Really
Yeah, this
appreciate
is-
the time.
Look, don't let us, we don't want to be the holdup, so, if we need to call a meeting and as a committee to move something forward, if you have decisions, we'll gladly answer them, You have more advice, so, I try to be good with email, as much as I can, but,
We could
Yeah.
always schedule a quick Zoom call or something.
yep. Any other new business, committee? Motion to adjourn, Ed, second, give it.